Hi, I'm Sean Perrin, and you're listening to episode 149 of the Clarinet Podcast, the show for clarinetists. Wait, podcast, what am I talking about today? Well, it's kind of a joke, because if you're following along on Instagram, you'd notice that the other day I changed the name of the Instagram page to the Clarinet Podcast by accident, and it was pointed out to me, and I tried to change it back, but I had to leave it there for 14 days. So it's just something kind of funny, but a little bit of an Easter egg if you're following along on Instagram. So if you're not following along on Instagram, please be sure to check out the show there, and also on Facebook and on YouTube. And before we get started today, this is Listener Appreciation Month. So if you want a chance to win a Bakun Protege Clarinet in Cocobolo with gold keys and 6 Leger reeds of your choice, head to clarinet.com/enter. This prize is worth more than $3,600 US. Is a huge thank you to our listeners for making the show possible the last 5 years, and the giveaway itself was made possible by our amazing sponsors, Bakun Musical Services and Leger Reeds. So stop this episode right now, head on over to clarinet.com/enter, and make sure you're entered to win this absolutely amazing prize. In today's conversation, I'm thrilled to be joined by two amazing listeners of the podcast. The first is Jaime Trevino, and we chat about what it was like returning to the clarinet after a 25-year break, and some of the incredible resources that he has found and used online to allow him to feel like he's learned more in the last year than he feels in all the years which he played clarinet before back in high school. So next up is Anthony Perkins, and I will tell you all about him between the two episodes in a couple minutes. Thank you so much to our 77 Patreon backers for making the show possible. If you want to get access to ad-free and sometimes extended versions of the podcast, just like this one, you can check that out at clarinet.com/subscribe. Also, of course, big thank you to our sponsors. You can take your playing to the next level with Bakun Musical Services. With 14-day trials, free shipping on eligible orders, and expert advice, you can be sure you're making the best choice for your musical needs. For Canadian customers, don't forget to check out that their pricing is now available in Canadian dollars, and for everyone listening, I have an exclusive coupon just for you. You can save 10% on any purchase at bakunmusical.com with code Clarinet at checkout. That's 10% off with code Clarinet at bakunmusical.com. Imagine a reed that lets you focus on your music, lasts for months instead of days, and even saves you money in the long run. It's all possible with Leger Reeds, the world's leading synthetic reed brand made right here in Canada. The European cut reed is preferred by Leger artists all over the world, including Eddie Daniels, David Schifrin, Corrado Giuffretti, and many others. It offers a warm, clean sound with great ease of articulation and is now available for E-flat, B-flat, and bass clarinet. Learn more at your local music store or at leger.com. That's LEGERE.com. And in case you're skipping the ads and just got to this point, first of all, shame on you. Don't do that. Support our sponsors. But second, be sure to go to clarinet.com/enter to enter to win the Bakun Protege Clarinet from Bakun, of course, and the 6 Leger reeds of your choice, a prize worth more than $3,600 US. All right, and now on to today's episode. This is Jaime Trevino. I'm here on the podcast today with Jaime Trevino, coming to us from Houston in the United States. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me, Sean.
So it's great to talk to you today. We've been following each other on Facebook for quite some time. When did you first discover the Clarinet podcast?
I guess I discovered it was it last year? I was going through and just, following you guys and seeing what was going on. I try to absorb as much as I can, and I go online as much as I can hear and listen to as much as possible. And that's when I started noticing, I was like, oh, this is a gold mine here. This really is a gold.
What's been your favorite conversation?
Well, I really like the obviously with Stanley. Anytime you talk to Stanley Drucker, you're going to get a gold mine of wealth of things that's going to come from there. I thought the interview with Laura was great because I've been following her for quite a while also. So one of my favorite Aussies, I always tell her. So yeah, she does a good job.
So you seem to be a huge fan of Disney and Disneyland, Disney World. So can you tell me a bit about your passion for this outside of the clarinet?
Absolutely. Well, it started young. We did we went a couple of times when we were in high school, did the whole Midnight Cinderella Parade and things like that. And so that was when I first, I really liked it. And my partner also is a really huge fan. And we had to live in two different cities because of the jobs. We're both in healthcare. So he's up and working in two different hospitals. And when we get to see maybe every 6 times a year or so, we'll take huge trips, and so that's our go-to place so we can get to California, and get away, get out of Texas, get out of Oklahoma, and just have a good time. And that just happens to be we have season tickets, so we're always there, kind of a thing. It's our home away from home.
Oh, wow, that's super cool. Did you know that I
Yeah.
performed at Disneyland? When I
Nice.
was in marching band, we flew down and did a tour down there, and it was the summer that California Adventure had opened. I think it
Oh
was like
wow. Yeah.
2000 or 2001 or something. Um,
Hmm.
but it was I remember it was all super. I'd never been to that one because that was a new park, although I had been to Disneyland as a kid, but it was something else to play there.
Yeah, Disney World is where we played when I was in high school. And we got to do a lot of behind the scenes, got to go to the underground the dressing rooms and areas and stuff like that so they can shuttle us around. We had a huge band, 450 of us that were in there. So, yeah, there was quite a few moving us around. It was difficult to move us. So, half of us were in the trams and then the other half were through the tunnels so, to get us where we needed to go. Like coming back to playing, I took almost a 25-year break.
Oh wow.
And so I figured no problem. I was really good back in the day. We'll just jump right into these cavallinis and to these roses. No, no. And so it was nice working back in. I've been playing now for about a year now, getting back into the things, and it's become very cathartic. It helped me a lot. The only reason I picked up and started playing again, I had a really bad cancer scare
Oh
last
no.
year. I was by myself, and I needed an outlet, and it my horn was sitting around. I had bought a Fat Boy, from Bakun just to like mess around with stuff and try to get back into playing again. And it kind of lit that light again for me to start playing more and picking up some more things. So I always have a soft spot for Bakun in my heart, and because of it, and it really helped me through some really really rough times, and I had to sell my Golden Era R13 just to help pay for the oncologist and everything.
Oh
And
no.
so now I have three really great instruments now. So it's like it was a good trade off, I guess, in the end, when it all came down to it. And it helped me rise above. There's a whole little group of us that are playing now. We call ourselves the comeback kids. Those of us kind of over 40, and it wasn't quite our career, but we went back to it because we loved it so much. And it's just picked up where we started. And it's a great group of guys to be hanging around with, guys and gals to be hanging around with. It's nice to the clarinet community has been really good to me, really good to me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I hope that you're doing better. And also, have you had a chance to play locally with a new group that you found that can accommodate returning players like that? Because in my city, we have a group called West Winds, and there's dozens of adult players, some of whom have never actually played before, but many who are coming back to the clarinet or their instrument, and they have
Right.
like a local band. Have you found a group you can play with, or
I haven't found anything yet.
when do you feel like you'd be ready, though? What would be that sign to you?
I feel like I'm ready now. I'm able to get through these pieces. I've been studying a little bit with the Etude of the Week group, so we've been working with the Rose books and the Cavallinis, just dusting off, a lot of old stuff, going back to my basics, long tones and scales, and the Robert Spring has popped back up again, the warm ups,
Yeah.
just getting everything settled. And I changed a lot of things of because 20 years ago was 20 years ago. I was playing, on a 5 V12 on a Lomax that was like a .08, really just closed mouthpiece. And now my setup is a lot more open. I use a much lighter reed, kind of a thing. And so, and I'm tending towards now, I'm going double lipped almost 100% of the time now, which has
Oh
been
wow.
a huge just shift on concept of everything, and there's been so much support with everyone around. Tom Plosky is always helping out a lot. Lucia is, from Australia. She's a great friend of mine. She's always helping. My teacher as well. And so I've gotten a lot of great pointers. Just and sometimes I don't like to ask because I don't want to be like I'm begging for lessons or kind of that kind of a thing. But I don't have to. People just offer up, help. This is what this is, and if there's different concepts you can look at both different things, and it really has helped a lot.
So what's that community called? It sounds like something that many listeners might want to join. Is it on Facebook?
Yes, there's two of them. There's the Etude of the Week amateur edition for those of us that still are a little rusty trying to get back into things, and they're doing out of a Height book, out of a Lester book, kind of early like middle school, early on high school kind of stuff. Just a little bit, just to get your fundamentals back into play again. You get your scales back under your fingers and voicing and things like that to hear again, and just endurance, getting your endurance up and going. The second one is just the Etude of the Clarinet edition, and that's for I believe some kids from the University of North Texas started it, and they kind of kept with it, and it just kind of grew from there. And then there's a lot of people from around the world that are in it, and it's a great community to go back to because we're struggling in some parts. There's others simpler to play, but we'll get you the same fundamentals to keep you going. And they're very, very supportive. People get out of hand, we'll back each other up right away, saying, "Hey, look, don't get too crazy." This is not the professional group, but we're still trying. We're still trying to do our best.
So does everyone take a turn posting, or do people all post at once a week, or how does it work?
What they do is they'll take an etude a week. It's kind of not realistic, but you can try to do an etude a week and have it mean something, where you're actually learning something. And so we've been trying to do one a week, post, and then we'll comment on each other. They ask if you want to comment. If not, just to share, kind of a thing. We have been pretty on a schedule. The administrators are really good about it. But with this whole quarantine going on right now, they completely kind of let it open up so that you can free for all to try to catch up, or if you want something else to play, you can do that as well. There's excerpts of the week that they've been doing. There's a lot of little ones that they broke up into, but those are the two main ones that have really helped, kind of put my chops back up to where they needed to be. And I go back and I listen to some of those early recordings. I'm like, kind of, it's like, whoa, but I'm learning from it. And it's a different medium that I didn't have to begin with. We didn't have webcams, and I couldn't record video of me when I was in college. I barely had a cell phone back in Nam.
Yeah. And I totally was thinking just now about the past again. We were talking about the past, and I wonder if in the past, like even as recently as the 80s and 90s, if as many adult players were able to come back, because there wasn't the internet back then. There was no etude of the week. There was no, right now we're during a pandemic. We're almost communicating more with some people than we would have otherwise. So I wonder what it was like 30, 40 years ago.
The 8 years that I spent playing, I started late and then through high school and only a couple of years of college. I've learned more this past year out of the professional setting because of what was available online, because of people like you, because of the teachers that are on there and that are helping out. The pros that sit in those groups, that's gold. I mean, when they give advice, it's free. Basically, it's free advice, and it's good advice. And they will sit there and argue their points, and then you can choose which side you like, and that's an option that you don't have in college.
So before we close, it's been a great conversation. I thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and for listening to the show and just being a part of the Clarinet community online. But I want to ask, because it sounds like you are familiar with even more than me out there as far as this goes, but what other online resources, YouTube channels, things like that have you been enjoying for the clarinet that you may want to share with the audience?
Well, there are like maybe 15 different clarinet groups that are on Facebook alone, kind of a thing. You just that come up and pop up. The international ones are good. I like to listen to the different, different sides. You have your klezmer, you have your Russian music, you have your Jewish music, you have the Asian music that all the different that gives you international access right there for free.
Yeah.
So many of them, but I just stick really to Facebook and Instagram. I'm not really that far outreached anymore. I'm not that young.
Fair enough. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Was there something you wanted to ask me or anything else you wanted to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Just thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for the support, Sean. It's been great to finally actually meet and talk with you.
Absolutely. So hopefully one day in reality. I mean, I was hoping to go to Clarinet Fest this summer, but that's kind of been canceled. So
yeah,
we'll make it happen one day for sure. Next up on the podcast today is Anthony Perkins, who is a freshman in university at ASU. We discuss his passion for marching band and why he feels strongly that being a high school band director is his destiny. Based on his past experiences, he really wants to share that experience with other people going forward. And it's a really admirable thing to see in someone his age, very early on in his career, who already knows exactly what he wants to do. So I really admire that. And we had a really great conversation. I'm here today with Anthony Perkins, who's coming to us from Tempe, Arizona. Anthony, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you.
So today I wanted to talk to you a bit about your start as far as auditioning for universities and some of your sort of life experiences and sort of your process leading up to where you are now at the University of Arizona.
As you said, I'm a student at the University of Arizona now. I'm a music education major, and I also take performance level lessons with Dr. Glazier.
So when it came to deciding on a major, are you the kind of person who you've known ever since you were young you wanted to go into music, or was it something you decided at kind of the end of grade 12 as a last minute decision, or what was it like for you?
There isn't really like a moment like a lot of people have. I think it was just I went to a really good elementary school where in fifth grade you had to pick an instrument or you had to be in choir. So I picked clarinet, and then I decided I'm pretty good at this, so I should keep going. And then that led me to go to the school I went to, and then that led me to go to the high school that I went to. And then I just kind of realized after my experience in college that, well, I've kind of poured so much time into this, I can't imagine doing anything else. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I feel like music education gives me more options. And now looking back at that, I think it was just the best decision, because now the more and more I look back at my experience in high school, I feel like I almost have to be that sort of high school band director and give that experience of high school marching band to more students, because I think that experience completely changed my life, and I think that that's something that I have to give to the world because I'm super passionate about it.
Well, so interesting how many people are really influenced by marching band. And one thing that bothers me actually is how negatively a lot of people view marching band. They think it leads to like bad technique or all this stuff or something. And I'm sure that that's possible. But in another way, it really leads to people becoming really passionate about music. Like some of the best musical experiences I ever had were in marching band. And I was able to go on tours to like Japan, and we went to Chicago and California, Disney, and all these other places. I guess the only difference for me is that I actually played snare drum in marching band for the years that I was in it. So it was a bit of a different experience. But what was it, do you think, about marching band that really stood out for you as something that was worth pursuing or musically meaningful or?
What was so interesting about marching band was I've just sort of noticed this with the philosophies that the directors preach and everything, is it was something completely new that you could sort of devote a lot of time and energy and go from completely 0% to 100% in a sort of idea of a performance throughout a season or throughout a career. And in marching band is when you go in, you have no idea how to march. You have no idea how to march and play. This entire thing seems really crazy to you, and you have no idea how people do it. All you know is that you want to do it. So when you get in and you learn everything, and then you're able, especially in the later years when you get to take a leadership position and you get to give that experience to other people and to show them through these experiences. And I think that's really, I didn't notice it at the time, but when I really sort of fell in love with that sort of idea of teaching, is that I get to give these people this amazing experience. My entire years at the Colonel Russell Marching Band, I was spending my time like, this thing is so cool. Why does no one understand how cool this thing is? And now I get to show people how cool this is because they get to experience it with me.
So were you the kind of person who loved the marching band stuff right away, or did it take you a while to settle in? Because like even for me, I can remember in my first year in marching band, I absolutely hated it. I hated it so much that at the beginning of the 8-hour band camp workshops, I would set a timer and literally count down the seconds till the day was over. It was brutal. But my mom, I said I wanted to quit, but she was like, there's no way, because we already paid for the tour. Like, you're going at least on tour. So she made me stick it out. But after that, at the end of the August month where, everything was over, she said, okay, well, you didn't like the band. What do you want to do now? And I was like, no, I want to go back, please, please. And she was like, there's no way, not after the way you acted this year, and hated it so much. But, once you make the friends and learn the experience, and it's not so intimidating, it's a whole different ball game, right? So I then stuck in it, I think, for 6 years after that. So what was it like for you?
I always hear that experience. I always hear that. That's always the story whenever we get someone like Bill Humber or previous band directors. That's always the story they tell, is like the first few times you do it, you're going to feel terrible and it's really going to suck for you. But once you get in and once you perform, once you have those first few performances and once you make those friends, you're never going to imagine life without it. I think my experience was different. I think the moment from in middle school when they showed us Spartacus, the Phantom Regiment show, which of course is drum corps, but that was sort of part of our introduction. And then they also showed Way of the Warrior, which was like the hallmark show of the high school that I ended up going to, Corona del Sol. Once they showed those, and I was like, yeah, no, that looks like the next logical step to take this. And I just sort of said, I went to band camp, and I, like, to this day, I don't know how I was so enthusiastic about this, because I didn't know anyone when I went to high school. Like, I moved districts. Like, it wasn't that far away, but it was far enough that I knew no one. It's kind of crazy to me that, like, I was able to make friends completely out of nothing. Like, my roommate now, who's a trumpet player, I met him at band camp, and I just walked up to him. He always talks about it as being really funny and awkward. Is I just walked up to him and started talking to him, and now he's like my brother now. He's my best friend, and he's my roommate in college. And it was literally just out of some sort of bravery of, hey, this guy looks like, I always joke, it's like, hey, this guy looks like he could use a friend, but but that's all in good fun. But I mean, it was really life-changing, because we both, it's a very deep connection that we have. So I think creating those connections and those performance opportunities is really just what makes marching band so important. And then to just transition back into the conversation about the University of Arizona, is I think the University of Arizona is extremely unique, because instead of having that super like collegiate style where you get like the sort of Ohio State high stepping sort of stuff, and which is very different from how high school does things now, and is almost seems like a downgrade in a way, or at least just a completely different direction with the idea, and very old school. They sort of take like, okay, let's do sort of a high school style show, but let's do pop music, and let's do trumpet screamers, and let's do all this really, really cool stuff. That's what's made that experience so cool for me. And I didn't even think about that when I made the decision to go to University of Arizona.
So let's look ahead to the future, 10, 15 years. I know for you that seems like a long way away, but it's so funny because it seems like just yesterday. Like, I have this vivid memory of just yesterday finishing my first day of classes of university, and going out and sitting on a bench and listening to some music. And that today was like 16 years ago, which I find crazy. But where do you see your life trajectory as far as a career path and what you'd ideally be doing, say 10, 15 years from now?
This whole quarantine thing has gotten me time to look back at my experience in high school, and the more and more I look at it, the more and more I realize that I have to be a high school band director. There's no other way. I have to give that experience to other people, and that passion that I felt, and that first sense of belonging and all this that I experienced there, I feel like I have to give that to other people. And my passion for it is kind of like, I don't believe in any sort of like divine destiny or whatever, but I feel like I have a duty to the world to give that back. And I think, as much as it sounds crazy to me, as much as it sounds like, what the heck are you signing up for, I really do want to be a marching band director. And whether that's a head marching band director position or an associate position that sort of works on woodwinds, because I've to this day still not met a head high school marching band director that wasn't a trombone or a trumpet player. So whatever that turns into. But I think, yeah, in 15 years, who knows what I do with graduate school or anything like that. I would love to be a tech at the Pride of Arizona, but I think high school marching band is definitely my path.
Well, you know what? I love your dedication and your direction already, even at, you said you're a freshman, right?
Yeah, I'm a freshman in college, so I'm 18.
Yeah, it's crazy. So the freshmen these days are much more mature than when I was there. I remember that, all I was looking forward to was that next Friday to get out to the bar with my friends. So pretty good to have those kind of goals set so soon on in your career. What advice would you have then for other kind of high school students who are looking to enter university or find their path with sort of as much gumption, if that's the word that you have?
You should really go into a path that you feel motivated in, and just sort of whatever you feel the happiest in your life doing, try to find a profession that goes into that. So I think what's important is getting a private lesson teacher that really sees you and really sees your potential and can guide you in that way. Because if I didn't have Dr. Jeff Cuomo teaching me in high school, I wouldn't have made All-State. I wouldn't have even auditioned for any of the other universities. I don't even know where I would be without them. And you kind of need to find someone to do that, whether it's a private lesson teacher or a band director, to sort of lead you in that direction. And really kind of, when you go to the schools, don't just judge them at face value. Don't let the financial issues, because if you're good enough and if you practice enough, scholarships will take care of that. Just go to the school that you want to go to. And that was hard for me because I wanted to go to U of A, and ASU was 3 miles away. So I wouldn't have had to pay dorm costs. It would have been really, really convenient, but that wasn't the school for me. And I think making that decision not only completely changed my life, but I think that's something that people need to consider, is that it's not just about what's convenient for you or what's the financially best decision. Of course, go to a school you can afford, but go to the school you want to.
Yeah, there's actually a podcast episode, College Prep for Musicians, and they said the same thing, like make sure that you apply where you want to go and see your career going the farthest, because oftentimes the tuition will be there to match, covered by a scholarship or some kind of donor. So don't let that get in the way. And man, I wish I had that advice when I was younger, because I wanted to do my master's at Manhattan School, but I looked at the price as an international student and I was like, wow, 80 grand a year, that's insane. But then I had some friends who went there and most of their tuition was covered. So if I had known that, I would have definitely changed the course of what I felt comfortable pursuing. But hey, well, this has been really great talking. I wanted to ask if you had anything else to share with the Clarinet audience before we wrap up.
To anyone listening, anyone considering any schools out in the West, seriously give the University of Arizona a look. I think it really has changed my life, and it was the best decision in my life to go there. Of course, I'm only 18, but that's still a lot. And I think looking into some of their marching band shows, the most recent No Doubt show, and some pep band stuff, we really need to get more pep band stuff out there, because you do like Tank and some really cool stuff. But yeah, no, seriously, give us a look. I would really love to have you here. I'm sure Dr. Glazier would love to have more students, and the marching band is always looking to grow. So seriously, look into that. Any younger students in the Tempe, Arizona area, I don't know how many there are, but Corona del Sol High School also changed my life. So give David Duplessis a call there, and they'll set you up for that. And I think that would be a fantastic place for any musician to grow at that age. So yeah, I think that's it.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Of course, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Clarinet podcast. If you find that you're enjoying the show and want access to extended ad-free versions, you can do this for as little as $1 per month or $10 per entire year at clarinet.com/subscribe. I just want to thank those of you who are supporting the show at more than $10 per month. We have Robert W., April J., Jason S., Glenn K., David S., Andrew M., William L., Miguel D., Debbie A., Patty S., Josh N., and Karen D. Thank you so much to all of you for making the show possible every single month, and of course the rest of the sponsors as well. And of course to our season sponsors, Leger Reeds and Bakun Musical Services. You can enter to win an amazing prize this month for Listener Appreciation Month, which is a Bakun Protege Clarinet in Coca-Cola with gold keys, and 6 Leger Reeds of your choice to go with it. So thank you so much to that huge prize. But if you want to enter to win, go to clarinet.com/enter. And I think that's an amazing giveaway for an amazing audience. So you can check out Bakun and save 10% on your next purchase of any kind, whether it's a mouthpiece all the way up to a custom clarinet, by using code Clarinet at checkout at bakunmusical.com. That's code Clarinet at checkout at bakunmusical.com. Also, imagine a reed that lets you focus on your music, lasts for months instead of days, and even saves you money in the long run. You can check out Leger Reeds at your local music store at leger.com. That's LEGERE.com. I'm your host, Sean Perrin, signing off from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I look forward to seeing you next time for some more amazing conversations with wonderful listeners here on the Clarinet Podcast, the show for clarinetists.